Well, hello to the students in the senior seminar at Wayne State and to my freshman composition class 1020 who are investigating murder cases. I wanted to just have a brief session where I can show you and discuss how to cite, what to cite, when to cite in either of your papers, either class. So what I have is I'm going to screen share some information with you, and then you can, you can see how I'm doing it. I've highlighted some areas on this. First thing though to do, to mention before we get there, is that you do not have to cite everything on your works cited sheet. When I show you this extensive works cited sheet with this paper on the Kitty Genovese murder, you're going to see how long it is. And obviously all of that material is not quoted or cited. The other thing to say is anytime you use a direct quote from your source, it has to be cited. Now we're doing and using MLA, and I want to tell you about and post a couple of areas where you can look into this material and kind of find the method for documentation for the source itself. Okay, so here's I was going to share the screen, and then you'll see. I have on the left side of your screen, I have a paper up there to share with you. And then I have on the right side of the screen, I have the works cited sheet that goes with this paper. But first, and I will also put a link up, a brief introduction of how to set your paper up. But this is the general layout of an MLA based paper. You'll put your name and page numbers up here in your header. I'm assuming all of you know how to do that. And then you'll add your name, my name here, the course number or name, which the course number would be either English 1020 or ELR 4700, and then the date. In the middle of the page and centered, you'll have, and all of this is 12-inch font. It is Times Roman or Times New Roman, and everything is double spaced. In an MLA paper, everything is Times New Roman, as you can see, I think up here. And then everything is 12 font. And then everything, as you see here, is double spaced. Okay, so those are the basic requirements for an MLA paper, which both classes are doing. All right. First thing I want to mention is, as we look at this, I've highlighted this area here, and I can post this information as well in both classes if it helps. As a new document. But here you see what is considered general information. You do not have to cite general information in your paper, either 1020 or 4700. General information is the kind of information that if anybody read an article on your topic, or not an article, but knew a little bit about your topic, there's a certain amount of information that can be taken for granted, doesn't have to be cited. A great example here is what you see at the top, where it says Kitty Genovese was murdered by Winston Moseley in March of 1964. Okay, that's general information. Anybody that picks up any article, and moving over to the right side to look at the works cited sheet, anybody that reads an article on Kitty Genovese or knows anything about Kitty Genovese would know basically that information. This is not startling new information that needs to be cited. Now, if you want to say Kitty Genovese was born in 1776, yes, you would cite that, because that would, one, make no sense. And it's just, it's just ridiculous information that would need to be cited because it's so bizarre. And, that's not what general information is. General information, basic info that people would know if they knew your topic, no matter what it is. Okay. All right. Here's another example of it in this paragraph. You see, I've lined out this student's citation. The citation's correct, it's MLA, but in the early morning of March 13th, 1964, Kitty Genovese was returning home from her job as a bartender at a nearby bar. She parked her car in a parking lot near the railroad, 100 feet away from the entrance of her building. This is also could be considered general information. It doesn't really need to be cited. And you can skip that. However, I'm going to go back again and restate anything directly quoted or anything that you think is important information that helps build your case. You'll want to cite it, whether it's a direct quote or it's a paraphrase. Okay, so keep that in mind. You're all kind of learning to work with this, so you may miss it a few times. But if I don't see a regular reoccurrence of this, then I'll write it up to just, a mistake here and there, and that's fine. Especially in the freshman composition class, the 1020. So very simply then, anything that you do cite, and the reason why we do it is to match it up with the works cited sheet. So if anybody wanted more information on this, they could go to the end of the paper, which is where this is found, and you can cross-reference. So you look up, you say, man fled the scene, Dyke. Well, looky here, Dyke. And this is from a YouTube video. And it does have a director, so that's in there. And that is how you cite it. You always go by the last name of an author, director, or someone like that in YouTube videos anyway. And if there is no author, not a big deal. You just go by the title of the article or the website, or however, whatever info you can find in that situation. So hopefully that's understood, that if you're, the only requirement in MLA 8th edition is that you identify either an author or an important name, in the case of a YouTube thing, or, and if that's not known, no big deal. You just go right to the title of it, and you'll see that taking place, I think. Well, here's one example of it here. Now, this is from the African American Review. I assume the student found it. An article, gets electric chair in barmaid murder. So there is no author, obviously, to this. It's just under that title, and that's done that way so it can be matched, cross-referenced, as you see my arrow going back and forth, with the paper itself. Okay, so it's pretty simple. I'm never sure why students seem to have a hard time getting the grasp, unless it's never been explained clearly. But again, paper on the left side, citations have to line up with some source on this extensive list, and all of you will have extensive works cited sheets, whether you use it in the paper or not. Okay, moving down here, here's some more information that seems important, and it's listed as Kitty Genovese. Well, this tells me right here that there's no author for it, so I'm going to look under K, and look at that, it's right there. And if I want to know more, in this case, I can click the link. The link isn't necessary. especially if you have a really long link, you'll want to clean that out. You don't need it, especially with newspaper articles and stuff. Just the information, the basic information, author, title, source, year, that sort of thing. If it's in print, page number is important. Okay. And this paper continues through. Here's another quote from Kitty Genovese from that article. Now here's one. I'm not sure why it's all in capital letters. Maybe it was in the source, but at any rate, lawyer says in quotation mark, again, tells me that there's not an author listed, and the writer could not find the author. And lo and behold, and I tried to color code this, you see right here, that's the source. I want to know anything more, I will look up lawyer says client murdered 3 women. If it's capitalized, I'll look for that too, but it's in the L's where it should be, which everything is blended together and alphabetized, no matter if it's YouTube, a film, a journal, a magazine, a newspaper article, a television show, a diagram, a map, a photo. All of it has its way of being listed, and it has to match, and that's the only requirement for it. Now, this is what's called, and most of you may know it, this is called a block quote. And the rule of thumb is if you're doing 4 or more lines from a quote, then you would block it off, as you see in this example. You don't use quotation marks at the beginning and the end as you would in a normal quote. You don't do that. You leave those out, and the period in this situation goes here, and then in the parentheses, the name of the article. So this is Mosley execution delayed. So now I'm going to look under the M's, and I see Mosley execution delayed. Again, there's no author, obviously. If there were, it would be there. Now here's another Mosley. So you see Mosley. Well, if you have similar names and titles, then you switch it. Then you go by the second word in alphabetizing it. So here it's execution, and here it's is. So I comes after E, as you all know. So it would go like this. So anytime you have, and that can happen in certain cases and in certain papers where maybe you have, a number of articles. I'm just looking at this now. There's 3 articles by this Martin Gansberg. And what you see is that this author is doing exactly what they should. They have his name, and then they break it down by alphabetical listing of the titles. So you have L, T, and then a Y. Okay. So that's how you handle it. If you have a bunch of pieces or several pieces by one author, then you start to break it down by the title, the major words in the title at any rate. Okay. So this paper follows through, and this one comes out to be about 8 pages. And then there is the work cited, and you can see when you put it all together for this particular paper, and this is a note mostly for the 1020 class. There you can see that you've more than at that point met the requirement for the paper. And the papers in 4700 may be a little bit and could be a little bit longer, which is what is recommended because of the nature of the senior seminar. So this is pretty much it. I will put a link. I'll show you just a couple more things real quick here if I can. Let's see here. I'm gonna move this. Oh, okay. And I'll put these pages there. But this is where you want to go to find out how you write a paper like this. But see, they now have, they did not always have this, this right here, which is a sort of a generator. And it's basically, what I can tell, a free Easybib. Easybib can be a pain in the butt as you go through it. Ed, you probably know this, because you got to jump through hoops and all that sort of thing to make it work properly. But the other part of it is, if you go to Easybib, and I'm going to just do that here just to show you what that looks like. And it seems like most students are hip to this. They know about this. So easybib.com, create a citation. What it does do actually is it will create the citation and it will place it into a works cited format. So let's say we're looking up a book of mine, just for the sake of doing it. The title is this, and let's just see what comes up with Respect Poets on Detroit Music. Let me try this and see what happens. Maybe I don't remember the title of my own books, and I may not. But provided you have the right title to the book, that should work. I'm probably not putting it in the right way. Let's just take a book by another book that likely would be in there. Stephen King. What is Stephen King? I don't know. 1963, November. I think it's November 2nd, which is coming up. 1963. Let's see what happens here. Well, this being the assassination of President Kennedy, it's going to show you a bunch of that stuff. But maybe if we go this route and look up Stephen King, it will give you, I would think, a number of titles or articles about Stephen King. My main point is, generally, if you can put in because this is hooked into the internet, so most books will be in there. Let's try another book of mine that I do know the name of it. If there's a known book and it's in the catalog, and there it is, and it's in the catalog of the internet, the whole internet, then it likely is going to come up. And you could do this sometimes with YouTube titles and articles from papers and so forth. It will show you how to properly do this. So it comes up like that. You put cite, continue on, and it's asking me for some further information on it, or if I'm citing the whole book. Let's say I'm citing a chapter in the book. You would have to have, and because it's a book, it has to have page numbers. That's the one signal to the reader that this is a print. But most sources nowadays come from the internet. So, and again, I'll say for both classes, you cannot cite Wikipedia. You can use Wikipedia. I don't think it's a bad thing. You can use Wikipedia to get a feel for your subject or your case. It may be out there. There may be information out there on it that Wikipedia could be useful, because in both cases, no matter how you slice or dice it, what you're doing is you are investigating a case, whether the case is the state of the workplace in America post-pandemic, or if it is a specific murder case or a specific crime of some sort. Okay, I think that's pretty much it that I wanted to talk about. If you do, as always, have questions, this will be up on our site for you to review and look at whenever you want. I'll probably transform it into a YouTube so that it's accessible more easily. But remember that as you're going through this, you have a couple of possibilities to use. I'm going to put this up there for you too. This is just a 8-minute explanation that was on the internet. An Easybib, easy enough. And then the other one, Purdue Online Writing Lab, the Purdue, what's called the OWL. That's there, and this has everything. The last thing I'll say for everyone, especially the 4,700 students, is that as far as things go with it, now I was looking at this and it kind of distracted me. But the main point is there is a way to cite everything. There's a way to cite a visit to a location. There's a way definitely to cite photos that are included, and a way to cite them in the text, which usually leads with FIG, F-I-G period 1, and then the name of it. And those would be listed by name as well in the works cited sheet. So people, if they wanted to look further, like where did you get that diagram or that chart or that map or that information, then with your information in the works cited sheet, the reader can just quickly locate it. Okay, and there's other information. So there's all of this, this is giving you electronic sources, other common sources. I didn't click on this, but yeah, see, so here's an interview, published interviews, speeches, lectures, panel discussions, conferences, a painting, sculpture, or photograph, a song or an album, films or novels, television show. I mean, it's all here, and then it breaks it down. Podcasts, which are really big now, especially with crime, and other digital files. So probably Purdue OWL is the best go-to source and the most reliable, and they're not going to charge you. Okay. All right. Thanks for listening to this. I hope it's useful. Also, please feel free to email me any questions that you have, and I'll be glad to do it. And if we want to jump on and have a Zoom conference, we can do that too. Okay, have a great Thanksgiving, everybody. Be safe, both traveling and with the coronavirus going on the rise in Detroit and Metro Detroit. So thank you, folks.